see if I can. I'm going to try and keep the YouTube stream.
Two or 3 minutes that time, so let's just get into it. So hi everybody, my name is Ricky. Welcome to the Socialist chat room. Today I am once again joined by Popey and No Justice, and we are going to be discussing how YouTube deleted and later reinstated Novara Media's channel. And we are also going to be discussing the broader topic of the power that tech giants wield over us. So just before we go any further, how are you guys doing today?
I'm very well, as per usual. Not too bad in the slightest. How about yourself, Ricky?
I'm doing great, thank you. Not too bad. I've been messing around with our settings today and was a little bit nervous about that, but it looks like we've got everything working now.
Sweet.
Yeah, I'm not bad. I'm coming off the back of a bit of like a bad head cold though, so apologies if I kind of cough or sneeze or anything during the stream.
Glad to hear feel a little bit better today.
Yeah, I feel a lot better, thanks. Yeah.
My household has just been riddled with the plague these past few weeks. It's been a nightmare. So hopefully it goes fine. I'm just a little bit nervous that I might be getting an echo on the microphone. So we'll see how it goes, but hopefully we should be okay to get started. So I'll just dive straight into it now and fingers crossed. So the first thing I heard about the story with Novara was when they put out a statement on Twitter. They'd received a notification to say that not only had their channel been permanently deleted, but they were not allowed to set up a new channel. YouTube then responded on Twitter, and they seemed to imply that mass complaints had triggered a temporary suspension in error, and the channel had now been reinstated. However, this contradicted the initial response, which said this was a permanent deletion, which was a bit weird. It seemed like a public outcry had prompted a change of heart from Twitter, or possibly just a much faster response. Even prominent conservatives called the original decision wrong, probably because they were afraid of getting the same treatment. YouTube later told Novara that this was not actually the result of an automated response, that there were, in fact, two human errors. The first was that a person flagged Novara as being a spam channel, and the second error was that another person deleted the channel without following the proper process. Many people, myself included, are still suspicious about whether this was intentional or accidental, but either way, it has thrown up many concerns about tech giants and the power that they wield over political discourse and our everyday lives. Who would like to start us off with this one?
Well, it's never been in any way hidden the amount to which private corporations have a great deal of control over pretty much every aspect of our lives and the way in which we function. I was watching Novara's video about this, that they put out one of their updates they put out talking about how the Facebook company, or Meta as they're going to be called from now on apparently, how this company obviously only owns things like Instagram and WhatsApp and places like and things like that. And WhatsApp is used incredibly extensively around places in the global south, for example, where they don't have such robust otherwise communication methods with regards to infrastructure. And so things like WhatsApp going down, for example, like it did all that time, that a couple of months back now, was incredibly difficult for these people to deal with. It was their main method of communication because they are relying on some kind of private institution to take care of this. Now, we then extrapolate that down to, well, we have private corporations in control of what we can and can't say online, whether we're allowed to have a presence online in the first place, what kind of other companies who use their services are allowed to put online. Again, you look back, for example, what happened when OnlyFans got taken down a few months back, or almost had specific rules placed on what content creators could or couldn't put on the platform, only due to what they were told by card payment particular companies, right? So it's all back this feedback loop of loads of different infrastructural parts of our economy that are based entirely in private hands, who just have a carte blanche to say you shouldn't be online, your content shouldn't do this, etc., etc., and then has a great deal of control over the amount of freedom that we have when we're online platforms. Now, for example, you look at Novara Media. Now, this is a content provider or content creator that puts out explicitly anti-capitalist content, basically every day at this point. What are these private corporations? They are people who have a fiduciary responsibility to their shareholders to create profit, right? To create value for their shareholders. Any amount of socialist or anti-capitalist messaging online is something that, if it takes hold within the public discourse and then get put into public policy, can have a knock-on effects on their bottom line. We saw that in the way that which the media treated Jeremy Corbyn during the 2017 and 2019 elections. These media corporations had huge amounts of public power, and they used that to be able to create an environment that was difficult for anti-capitalist organising. Why should someone like YouTube as a platform be permissive of content that Lovaris puts out that explicitly on its platform is counteracting their own business incentives, right? So it only stands to reason to me that putting such a level of power in these corporations can only lead to bad outcomes in the future, especially when we are, as a platform, pushing forward for socialism and socialist causes in future. If people catch my drift on that one. My camera's playing silly background, so I'm just going to reset it.
I just want to say before we go any further, we lost the stream, so I had to start again. So unfortunately, we lost about 50% of what No Justice was saying. The entire introduction of the show. Completely another fuck up there. I don't know what happened. OBS just went black, so I had to restart it there. I don't know if we maybe just want to start the entire thing again.
I need to reset my camera. Just bear with us one sec.
I think we'll just start the entire thing again. Sorry about that, guys. I don't know what the fucking hell happened. 2 seconds. I'm just going to stop the stream again.
No problem.
Right. Give me 2 seconds. Luckily, I hadn't actually tweeted out. I hadn't tweeted send, so I'm just gonna quickly type out.
Bear with me again. Sorry, I'm still having camera issues. What's going on here?
That was really annoying.
It was freezing up a bit when you were talking. Then I could hear you perfectly.
And I caught the audio on my end when I was streaming because I'm still live here. So. Let's exit. Let me restart the thing.
That's such a shame. Like there was a really good flow going there.
Yeah, I seem to be. I kind of got into it pretty well during the start there, but let me just restart things.
I know it's frustrating because it was a good start. Everything was going quite nicely, and then I don't know what the hell happened. It just went black on me. So hopefully it doesn't happen again. I don't know if it's because of a settings change that I did, so I might have to reset the settings to default or something. I don't know. God knows.
No worries.
But in any case, I'm just going to click start streaming again. Go through that intro again. I'll just quickly rattle through it. And then we'll just we'll just take it from there. So I will just get going now.
Just load up my camera 1 sec.
I'm going to have to keep an eye on OBS and make sure that it doesn't go blank.
Right, we're here, and the camera is doing it the correct speed of things. It's not stuttering, so that's fine. That's a good start.
Right. So that's right. I'm just going to click start streaming now. So are you ready?
Yes.
Yep.
We're good.
Right, let's go. Hi guys, my name is Ricky. Welcome to the Socialist chat room. I apologize if you joined with us several minutes ago. We did have technical difficulties, so we are starting again. Today, I am joined by Bobby and No Justice, and we are going to be discussing how YouTube recently deleted and then later reinstated Novara Media's channel. And we're also going to be discussing the broader topic of the power tech giants wield over us. So since we're behind on time now, let's just dive straight into this. So the first thing I heard about this news story was when Novara Media put out a statement on Twitter. They'd received a notification which told them that not only had their channel been permanently deleted, but that they were not allowed to set up a new channel ever again. YouTube then responded on Twitter, and it seemed to imply that mass complaints had triggered a temporary suspension in error, and the channel had now been reinstated. However, this contradicted the initial response, which said this was a permanent deletion. It seemed like a public outcry had prompted a change of heart from YouTube, or certainly had triggered a much faster response. Even prominent conservatives called the original decision wrong, probably because they were afraid of getting the same treatment. YouTube later told Novara this was not an automated response, that there were in fact two human errors. The first error was that a person flagged Novara as being a spam channel, and the second error was that another person deleted the channel without following the proper process. Many people, myself included, are still suspicious about whether this was intentional or not, but either way, it's thrown up many concerns about tech giants and the power they wield over our political discourse. So, No Justice, would you like to take us away with this one?
Yeah, absolutely. So, what is Novara Media's platform, in essence? In essence, it is anti-capitalism. Now, they are hosted on you are all in a position where we are to be able to partake in any of the online discourse, we have to essentially use a lot of these social media or online platforms that are owned by these large corporations to be able to be part of that. It is now the online town square. It takes place on these private platforms. So to be able to engage, to be able to have an audience, to be able to propagate our ideas, or Novara's ideas in this case, throughout the online space, you have to engage with these large corporations who have vast amounts of power over what we can or cannot say on the internet or online or on these platforms in general. Now, as an anti-capitalist channel, Novara Media, they are in explicit contrast to the main goals of Alphabet or Meta or whatever, or these large corporations who own things like Facebook, Google, Instagram, WhatsApp, etc. And they host all their content on YouTube, so they are at the mercy of YouTube with what content they are and aren't allowed to put on their channel. So, what do Alphabet, the owner of YouTube, what's their main goal? Well, their only goal really is to provide a profit for their shareholders. That's what they have a fiduciary responsibility to do. That, at the end of the day, is their bottom line. Now, should, for example, anti-capitalist messages become mainstream discourse in general, permeating throughout society, this is, at the end of the day, contrary to the main goal of these large corporations. So it stands to reason that they would use their power to want to stymie any of these ideas gaining mainstream traction. You saw it in 2017 and 2019. Large corporations, for example, the media industry, used their enormous amounts of power to smear Jeremy Corbyn, smear the Labour Party in the run-ups to these elections, because at the end of the day, if that government came into power, it would be bad for their main idea, which is generating profit for their shareholders. So the amount to which we have given up so much power, or that we've been forced to, by the way it's evolved, give up lots of power to these large corporations, is incredibly worrying, because it all ties into what I was speaking about last week with regards to capitalist cultural hegemony, where these institutions within capitalism, the benefit off of capitalism, they only benefit by being able to reproduce the capitalist system that they are also a part of and gain from. So it is well within their interests to make sure that anti-capitalist sentiment does not grow, which is why we as leftists, we have to be incredibly wary of the amount to which we are permissive of the soft power that these places hold, and to afford the same amount of leeway that the people should hold for us, as in the case that the Conservatives have done, as Ricky stated before, with regards to platforming on things like YouTube. And we need to be able to, square that circle essentially of like what content should or shouldn't be allowed online, essentially by giving that power to people who are against our own interests, can only lead to censorship of leftist content online moving forward, and that's a big danger as far as I'm concerned.
Bobby, do you want to come in?
Yeah, sure. So when this first happened for me, one of the big things that came out, as you said earlier, Ricky, was quite a few like prominent right-wing figures spoke out against the initial decision to remove Navarro Media's YouTube account. And that wasn't unexpected, really, because generally when it comes to like censorship from these like big social media companies, people on the right and the far right in particular are the first to get removed from this, like quite rightly, because they tend to spread hate and propaganda. But one of the things that stood out to me were the amount of people who were kind of laughing at the left in general, because they were saying, well, whenever a far right prominent person gets kicked off a platform, so, very famously, Donald Trump got kicked off from Twitter. There's been a number of prominent right-wing people removed from YouTube. And they say, we're quite complicit and quite happy about it, which is true. But the difference is, when people get removed from platforms for good reasons, there's basically a violation of terms and conditions, which we all agree have to exist. So if you have an online platform, it's not a problem to introduce some sort of kind of regulations. As a friend of mine said recently, if you didn't have any regulations whatsoever on these large social media accounts, it all essentially turn into Pornhub. With the absence of any sort of moderation, it's just going to devolve into anything and everything. But this kind of idea that the left were being hypocritical because they were speaking out against Navarro Media being removed, and not somebody like, say, Tommy Robinson being deplatformed, I think that's kind of disingenuous and a bit of a red herring, because you do need some set of terms and conditions for these things in the first place. But it's also not like Navarro Media had violated any of those policies. As you pointed out to earlier on, YouTube have blamed this on an error on their end, but it does highlight the danger in general of having your speech essentially being controlled by private platforms with their own interests. And there's a question of what do you do about that, essentially? How do you regulate it so that you're not just allowing a lot of hate speech, a lot of bigotry, any sort of content that needs to be censored, essentially. You can't just have like extreme pornography or anything running around on these sites. You do need some level of regulation. So how do you do that in a way that's fair and that's consistent? And that's a big problem, really, because you can try and legislate it, essentially. You can do what the Tories were talking about, where they're going to censor social media, what we discussed last week. But that comes with its own set of problems, particularly because these social media platforms, by definition, they're international platforms. They're places when people from all over the world come together. So you can't have a country or a nation setting their own standards of what's allowed, because that just won't work. You can't regulate what people do in other countries through your own legislation. And what I think might help is something I see a lot in the industry I work in, which is health and safety.
Recording stopped.
Oh, are we still live?
I'm still live on my end.
Yes, we are.
Okay, sorry, right. I'll just wrap this point up then. So one of the things that you see in things like health and safety are international standards, where it's not set out by a particular government, but by a set of international experts in an area. And I think that for social media platforms, what we need is kind of an agreed international standard that we can apply to, where you can rightly and correctly have platforms where you don't allow hate speech, but you still can't remove speech on the whim of the agenda of whatever private company is hosting it. Because we've seen quite a number of right-wing people who have been kicked off of Twitter, things like that. They've set up things like Parler, things like Gab, they're essentially saying that they're setting up their own kind of free speech social network that won't be kind of watched over by the woke mob. But realistically, all they're trying to do is create their own safe spaces where they can have social media, where they can essentially say slurs without getting kicked off it. They don't actually want free speech, because if you allow free speech and you have a large platform where everybody's invited, you're still going to get the same level of people being called out for using slurs and things like that. You can't ask for free speech, but then also expect not to have your ideas criticized.
I think the big issue that I've got really is that there's no accountability, as you said, for any of these platforms to adhere to any kind of higher power. They're all essentially all of these platforms all essentially adhere to their own set of standards and nobody else's. It's not like, because at the end of the day, YouTube or something like that's a broadcaster. They broadcast things to people for them to be able to watch. Then, like, how different is that from, say, like a television company? Only for the fact that a television company has a schedule and it's difficult to be able to interact with that in a more kind of dynamic way. Whereas in the UK, for example, things that get broadcast on TV are all subject to Ofcom regulations. Like, for example, you can't broadcast, for example, like things about the supernatural, like psychics, without it being given a due level of objectivity. It's why at the start of Sally Morgan Star Psychic, you see this is just entertainment, like, disclaimer at the start. But we don't get any of that one. Like, it's only really recently YouTube have started, like, self-censoring this kind of thing. Like, for example, what I talked about last week with anti-vaccine things, that they're now taking these videos down because they feel like that crosses a boundary. But that's a boundary that YouTube have decided. Like, Channel 4 can't broadcast Sally Morgan without the disclaimer because of Ofcom, who regulate them outside of their own purview. That's a difficulty that I have.
Yeah, I think just going back to what you two said there, I totally agree with this thing that because we're criticizing Novara taking down that, it means we're hypocrites. I think it's complete and utter nonsense. I think we want fair rules. I'm personally against the idea of taking down accounts in most circumstances, but there are clearly legitimate circumstances in which you would take an account down. With regards to Novara, the reason people were so strongly against it is because, like Poppy touched upon, there was no valid reason for doing it at all. I mean, one thing I would like to say, first of all, is I am a big fan of Novara Media. I think they're the benchmark for left-wing journalism and activism in the UK. I'm particularly a fan of Aaron Bastani. I feel like Novara, they're really effective at bridging the gap between the online left and the mainstream media, and I definitely think they're an aspect to our movement, and probably why they're a target. For people who don't know, Novara are actually regulated by Impress. They're the regulators who were set up after the Leveson inquiry, and they're so strict that most mainstream newspapers refused to sign up with them. But interestingly, the left media did. So, make of that what you will. It seems rather ironic to me that the news outlets accused of being cranks and everything else, they signed up with the strictest regulator, and the so-called sensible ones didn't. Novara clearly have very high journalistic standards and very good writers and presenters. Some people on the left do criticize them. They've, for example, accused them of being optics driven and everything else, but I find myself agreeing with them about 90% of the time. Now, in a pluralistic society, there has to be room for the likes of Novara Media. You just can't have a mainstream media that's dominated by the right and the center, and then say we can't even make room for the left in online spaces. That would obviously be incredibly dangerous for democracy and free speech. The right wing love to tell us all about the marketplace of ideas, about how all voices should be given a chance to be heard, and I would completely agree with that. I don't think any voice that people want to hear should be silenced simply because somebody else doesn't like it, or because somebody in an office somewhere has made a so-called error and they've accidentally deleted your channel. I mean, it's just outrageous.
I mean,
it shows the lack of correct protocol in place for these kind of things. A decision such as deleting a channel with that amount of subscribers, that level of audience, they were live streaming regularly, people were tuning in, people were contributing. When it comes to doing something like that, it's a serious, significant thing. So to take the step of entirely deleting a channel like that should be down to just more than just one person who can make an error. The idea that they can say is oh, somebody made a mistake somewhere, suggests that a channel as big as Novara Media was just handed to somebody in an office where they've looked at it, looked against a checklist and gone, oh yeah, that's not great, delete. Now, you think a political news channel with a reach the size of that, it shouldn't just be down to one person. If you had like a robust, proper procedure in place with the right amount of checks and balances, it would have gone from this person who's gone, yes, delete it. It should have been sent to somebody else to like check that against a bunch of safeguards. Like I find it hard to believe that a company the size of YouTube has a procedure that's that easily beaten by human error. I don't believe the official response, to be honest, because surely if you think about a channel that is very big but isn't essentially politically charged, so say something like, I don't know, like some of the geek and Star Wars reviewers that you have out there, you get people who put out videos with millions and millions of viewers about popular content. If one of those was to get deleted accidentally, I can't see that it would have just gone through a single person who's just gone, oh, what? Yeah, we've had like 100 complaints about this or whatever. Your channel with 55 million subscribers is gone because one person clicked the button. I can't see that it works like that. There must be a procedure in place that's followed. And the fact that we got to the point where Novara's was completely deleted either says that YouTube needs to seriously like look at and strengthen out their policies and procedures, or they're just lying to us. And somebody made a decision, and as soon as there was a backlash from both sides of the political aisle, they quickly backpedaled and reversed the decision. It really does make you question it.
I think an angle people really haven't considered this issue from either, or I mean, I've not seen it considered very much on like the online discourse with regards to this, is that when we look at things like YouTube and platforms like this, we tend to think of it through the lens of personality, of the people that we're watching and the content that they make or whatever, when on a deeper level, this is a labour rights issue at the end of the day. This, like, Novara isn't just like a vanity project for Aaron, Ash and Michael, whatever. They get paid a wage from the money they generate from AdSense revenue. They will have videographers, they'll have editors, they'll have script writers, they'll have all these kind of people. These are jobs that they have that they need to get paid for. And if the platform is at the end of the day the grand arbiter, whether by deliberately or by mistake, of whether this content is allowed to be on the internet in the first place, or if one person's accidental mistake can essentially delete someone's livelihood out of existence, right? There's no YouTube creators union that they can go up, that they can have at their disposal to be able to fight for their rights against the large giants of all of these massive tech companies, because they're all, again, especially because at an international level, trying to unionize on an international level is very difficult, right? So we are in it, and I do kind of find it funny that when conservatives were bitch and moan, probably rightly so, in whole channels getting deleted or videos getting deleted or bits of their content not being allowed to put online by these large media corporations, it's just a small amount of the taste of what regular working class people have to go through, where the entirety of your livelihood is at the behest of a large corporation who only sees you with regards to the level to which they can extract surplus value to create profit at the end of the day. And they're only accountable again at the end. That's one reason why we have new labour laws in this country, so that there is at least some oversight to the way in which large corporations can take your livelihood out of existence, which isn't happening with this. This isn't happening with these large platforms where people rely on them essentially as independent contractors to be able to generate their living, for them to be able to exist in the world, because you will need a job at the end of the day, right? Like, and the fact that there is no oversight to that is it's very difficult for us to be able to for them to be able to justify not having any scrutiny over what they say should be or shouldn't be taken down when people's livelihoods are at stake.
It's right, really hard to help.
Sorry, but we've got another friggin' technical difficulty. We've got audio on Zoom, but I don't know what it's like you're on it. My end, Zoom has frozen on me, so the streaming software is fine. It looks like it's Zoom that's actually acting up. I don't know what is going on with it.
I can see both myself and Popey. Ooh.
You're frozen on my end, Ricky.
Yeah, Ricky, you're frozen on mine. I can see both. I can see myself and Popey just fine.
Yeah, same.
Do you want to make somebody else the host there, Ricky, and then leave and rejoin? I think he might be gone.
Yeah, I think it's frozen. I'm not sure if we're still live.
I'm still live on my end.
Okay. Right, okay. Should we hold on and wait for Ricky to come back and carry on?
Let me see if he's messaged me on Twitter.
It's definitely gone dead on YouTube's end.
He's just left. Oh, you've got yourself for the host now.
Okay. I have no idea how that works. I don't use Zoom.
No worries, it's cool. Which means that you might need to let Ricky in. I'm not sure when he comes back. But either way, yeah.
Okay.
Workers' rights, labour unions, we're at the behest of YouTube was the point I was making.
Yeah, I mean, like it's basically impossible to hold these social media giants to account. They're not really answerable to anybody other than their shareholders and themselves. And I think it really, the thing that speaks to that is the fact that they make a big show of trying to enforce standards, of trying to like regulate content on the thing. They also try really hard to like avoid the responsibility they've got. They say a lot like, we're a social media, we're a platform, but realistically they are a publisher, they're not a platform. They're publishing content and they do have a responsibility towards it. And if you look at something as simple as YouTube or Facebook, the way the level of inconsistency in the way that they apply their community standards is ridiculous. You see loads of like really, really thinly veiled racism and homophobia, transphobia on Facebook. You report it and you can repeatedly report it and it doesn't get taken down. And then you get people being banned for 30 days, 60 days, 90 days for like the most ridiculous of reasons. A friend of mine got a 30-day ban recently because they called their friend a pine cone. Completely nuts. And she wasn't even doing it in an offensive way either. It was a friend of hers,
Exactly. No, you're absolutely right. And the problem is that the good thing, it's good thing that platforms have terms of service. The platforms have, what's Facebook community standards. That's a good thing. The issue is that when it doesn't get applied in a manner that befits befits the actual infractions that get put onto the platform, right? Hence, you were just saying before about how if horrendous amounts of actual bigotry, which technically is against their community standards, right? I mean, again, that I'm not making like a normative claim about whether these should be in the community standard or not, but it's a descriptive claim that it is in the community standards. It should, by Facebook's own rules, be deleted, and it's not. It's when people come up when people say, well, they have a hate boner for conservatives, they keep deleting our accounts. I'm just just obey the TOS, fivehead. Like, it's not hard just to obey the terms of service. Don't break TOS. Just don't do it. Like, all the left is what thing is like, and they seem to think that it's only a conservative problem that they get to have their accounts deleted from these websites. I'm like, nah, mate. All of the leftist shit posters are all on their fourth accounts at this point. Like, Chodlogic's on his third. Like, there's all they and like it's like, oh no, it's this anti-free speech censorship. They're gonna come down and destroy all conservative thought, and then on the left side of the equation, it's just like, Twitter's going to delete your account for this tweet, comrade. Yeah, I know. And that's the discourse.
But I think the kind of like casual, jokey way it shows just how bad it is.
For sure.
I saw a really terrible example like a couple of months ago, and it should probably come with a little bit of a trigger warning, really, for like genocide, essentially. But somebody put an image up, and it was cartoons of the Happy Merchant, which is like the very famous anti-Semitic cartoon, of a very awfully drawn Jewish man rubbing his hands together with the evil smile and all this. And they've got people hanging them from gallows. And this was reported to Facebook as obvious hate speech. Wasn't taken down, it was appealed, wasn't taken down. This doesn't go against our community standards. And it just shows if something like that can be got away with, because I can understand looking at that image, it can't be picked up by an algorithm. I understand that. That's the whole point of dog whistles, is they bypass algorithms, and they bypass like your basic checklist. If you've got somebody that doesn't really understand racism and hate speech, but they're employed to try and remove it from Facebook, and they're given a checklist, I can understand why they might miss stuff like that. But when you've got something as obviously explicitly pro-genocide as an image like that, and it still doesn't get taken down even after a human review, it shows you that the systems that are in place to actually kind of monitor this stuff are deeply, deeply flawed, and they get away with it because they're not accountable to anybody. And all we need to do is keep the people that will scrutinize them, the people that could potentially affect their revenue. They just need to keep them satisfied to the level that they will let them carry on the way they are, so they can keep making money. I mean, if you remember, Zuckerberg sat being grilled by Congress. Like, it was a very uncomfortable one, and he clearly like really struggled there. But what actually changed as a result of that?
Very
Not a
little.
lot.
Well, the thing is that the algorithms they use and the way they use their platforms is that they want engagement. They want people to be locked onto the platforms. They want people trapped in discourse. They want things to be volatile because they increases engagement. Engages is what generates some, AdSense revenue, or ad revenue, not AdSense is Google, but like click revenue on, and Zoom's ended. I'm going to move to my Hi chat, how are you all doing? This went really well, I'm going to say. This went excellently. How are we all doing in chat? Hope we're all doing fine. What was the point? I was in the middle of a point there when I got cut off. What was I going to say? I was saying that we have... I've completely lost my train of thought. Let me just check Twitter. I'm surprised you're all sticking around. There's still 4 of you watching. I appreciate your persistence with sticking around. Just try and bear with us whilst we try and get something back up and running. Do we even have Discord open? That's the question. Well, it looks like it's just me now. There's five people watching though. Hello everyone at home. So I just think that the power invested in these companies is incredibly damaging, and it's not just on a personal level. It is on a macro labor rights level. Again, I mean, getting unions together for people who do engage in online content creation is a really important thing. As far as I'm concerned. Now. Oh, hello, North Countryman. How are you doing? I was in the middle of a panel, and then all of the systems that we were using died. Across the pond is definitely something that people say nowadays. They're North Countrymen. It's a shame I couldn't come on that panel you're doing about German issues. Unfortunately, I don't actually know anything about German politics, which is an issue. Let me just drop the link to my Discord for people I was actually with. How do I even link things to my Discord? Invite people. Copy the link. Well, we got some good clips from the bits and pieces that we did. There we go. Aha, we're back. Cool. And it's just me. There's no one viewing now. Well, that's fair enough. To be fair, I would have left if all of that garbage had happened. People are actually in my Discord now. I actually have members of my Discord, which is good. True. Leftists obviously on being incredibly semi-online. We don't have the best in terms of tech support. It's not great. You'd think we would be, but unfortunately not. I can hear you. Let me go back into general. I can hear you, but I can't see you. They should be able to there should be a turn or turn off camera button for you on the left, to the left of the share your screen button. I think you might need to change you might need to change the microphone input that you're using as well, Popies. I think I have you on a different microphone than the one you're using on Zoom, unless it's compressing the audio. Well, now I can't hear you. What's going on? User settings. I have on voice and video, default microphone, output device, headphones.
Hang on, wait now. That's
Hey, I can hear
one.
you're on the right microphone
one.
now. I can hear you on the right microphone.
Is that okay?
That's good. That's absolutely fine. You're gating a little bit, but it's cool.
Am I in this? Can anybody hear me?
I can hear you absolutely fine. Not a problem at all. I can't see your camera though.
How do I do that?
To the left of the share your screen button, there should be a turn or turn off camera button.
To the left of the. I have no fucking. Oh yeah. Right. I'm assuming it's here. All right. Yeah, I think we're in. So this is more or less like Zoom now.
It's still loading your camera on my end.
Yeah. Oh, I've just got to click allow.
There we go.
How do I make this full screen?
There's a little bottom in the bottom right. There's a little full screen button. Let me change the view I'm using. People should be able.
I know why I've gone. I think it must be because Zoom was still using my camera.
Aha, yes, that would be the issue.
It's not letting me back in though now. Do I have to do this again? Maybe.
If you just click turn or turn off. Aha, it's loading now.
Yeah. Okay.
I
Cool.
can see you just fine now.
So.
There we go. Actually, yeah, it wasn't great quality, but I think the quality's gone much better now. Because what we can do now. I mean, I've been live the whole time. What we can do is I can obviously I'm not going to be uploading I unlist all my streams anyway. I'm back on my end. What I can do is I can just in my video editor patch where we left off onto the start of this bit here, create one video, and then I can send you the VOD so you can upload it to YouTube if you want.
Oh right, so we haven't lost everything. You are a lifesaver. Yeah. Oh great. Yeah, we can do that then. Yeah, that's perfect.
Yeah, I've been live the whole time, so all of the tech failures have been broadcast to the world.
Oh well, luckily we didn't have many viewers. It's what, it's so frustrating because everything was going so well apart from the technical side of things was just a nightmare. Poby's gone now, but I don't even know what's. You know what I think happened, because I've been tweaking with the settings on OBS and I'd made it so they were going to be using more of the performance on my PC, and I think it just made Zoom crash. So I think that's what caused it. So I should have probably just left everything at default. But because it was streaming at such a low resolution, I was trying to get it to output at a higher resolution so it looked better, and that's what basically fucked everything up. So if you use Discord
okay.
going forward, we should be able to avoid that problem.
Absolutely. Are you both
Hopefully.
using Discord in your browser at the moment?
Yes.
Yeah.
There's
No. So
Okay, no worries. Ricky, there's a desktop client. Obviously, it's fine for now, but if you download the desktop client, it'll make it run even smoother. It might also be worth just setting up a Council Estate Media Discord server so that we can all chat in there. You can invite all of your people on Twitter and we've got a chat space of people who want to chat about the stream, who want to come in and chat socialist politics, chat organising. If they want to come on the stream sometime, then we've got a place for them to organise.
Yeah, I kind of held off inviting people this time just because of the way people have been cancelling. But I think in the future we probably will start doing it again once we kind of get underway and we get all the kinks worked out, because I don't really want to start doing that while we're having everything fucking crash on us. But it was just so frustrating because I thought this one today was going to be the one that goes well, and I was ready to just kind of really put it out there and push it, and then fucking.
It's cool. I'll edit it together so we've got something good. Don't worry. I'm on it.
Yeah. So that's a relief. So yeah. Okay. Right. Give me 2 seconds. I will just need to.
a typical Halloween.
I'm not. You know what might be best, no justice, if I give you access to my YouTube channel. I don't know if you can do that, and
So my Streamlabs OBS is linked to my Twitch and YouTube accounts because I use multi-stream to stream on multiple platforms.
So could I put my YouTube channel on yours as well at your end, and then you can do the streaming at your end, and I'm not fucking it up? Would that work?
It might work. I'd have to sign out of my YouTube channel and then sign back in with yours. Yeah, but.
So we can't do both at the same time.
Yeah, because you can only have one YouTube account linked at the same time.
I mean, it's fine then, because if we're both streaming, then if it does go tits up like this, at least we've always got a backup stream. It's
exactly, 100%.
I'm just trying to think how best to avoid this next time. I think what I'm gonna have to do is just fully set me OBS back to default settings and just minimize the number of windows that I have open.
I recommend using Streamlabs OBS. They've got their own skin over it. It makes making the stream a little bit easier. I find it runs a lot better than regular OBS. So if you want to, I would recommend using their client rather than OBS. It's still completely free to use as well. So.
Right. Okay. I'll look into that tomorrow. Obviously, we're not going to be doing that now, but it's just
for future.
I'm just trying to think, because I just don't want to do another live stream and then just have it go all tits up like that. What I might end up doing, what might actually be just a better thing to do is just have you live streaming it, and then you can just send me the clip afterwards, and I'll just upload the recording of it to my YouTube channel. I might just do it that way if we're going to have problems in future, because I don't want to be going through this every week and then it just fucks it up for everybody.
Sure.
So
I would hate. I feel bad about kind of getting all of the clicks from your content, but if you're happy to do that, then that's fine.
You know what? I'm not. We don't get many clicks on the live stream, and I think you can get more afterwards from you know what I mean, just sharing the footage out afterwards. So I don't even think that's necessarily a bad idea. And I mean, if we're going to make this a regular thing, in any case, we can kind of just see it as being all our streams rather than just mine. You know what I mean? If you guys are wanting to do this as a regular thing,
absolutely.
Yeah. So I think that's what we'll probably do. But obviously, we just need to
timetable into my Twitch thing. So.
Oh, cool. I was just going to say we just need to make sure we've got all of the technical kinks kind of sorted out. That was another one of the reasons why when you mentioned approaching that guy, I didn't just want to start approaching him, because I thought if I do that, then and all this kind of happens. But in any case, I don't know if you guys just want to get started again now, and we'll just we'll give it another try from where we left off.
Yeah, because we were just talking. I think Popey and I, when we finished up, we were talking about people adhering to community standards or terms of service on social media platforms, and the implications of people who don't obey the terms of service, and the lopsided way in which these terms are actually implemented across people. So Pope was making the point that there are some people who will completely break the TOS by saying insanely bigoted shit, actual pro-genocide stuff that should never be, I think most people can agree that that's not a good thing to have on these platforms. And even from like a descriptive rather than a normative sense, it is against the TOS. That's a thing that it is. Whether you think it should be or not, obviously, is irrelevant when it actually is and isn't getting taken up by the actual algorithms or by the people who moderate these platforms. So that was the kind of conversation we were having. If you had any thoughts on that, Ricky.
Yeah, I mean, I completely agree with everything Bobby was saying on that. So when my stream was acting up, I could actually hear you guys. I just couldn't see you guys, so I was kind of following. I was just a bit distracted. But yeah, I mean, I would completely agree. We're not against people necessarily being suspended or taken down from social media. It just, there has to be a correct set of processes and guidelines that are followed, and they weren't followed in this instance. I've always stated I'd be very reluctant to have people permanently removed, but there has to also be, circumstances where that does get taken down. I just think that's a perfectly rational thing to say. Now, I did actually have, I was like kind of thinking what, I would do about this if I was in, YouTube's position or Twitter's position or anybody else's. In defense of these companies policing their platforms, it's not an easy task. They are dealing with tens of millions of accounts, and that does take an enormous workforce to deal with all of this. It's obviously going to be expensive for them and a bit of a headache. But what I would do in terms of kind of policing the internet, I would implement a clear set of rules, procedures, punishments, and timescales that would be publicly available and consistently applied. I think that's what Popey had said. I would make it so automation is never able to suspend somebody, only draw a person's attention to a problem. The idea that a robot could suspend somebody, and I know for a fact this definitely happens on Twitter, it's ridiculous. A single person should never be able to issue a permanent suspension, only a temporary one. It's just ridiculous that you can have an untrained person who can decide to delete Navarra forever. Surely, if they make that decision, it should then go to a team for review before the final decision is actually made. Emphasis should be placed on educating people and giving them a chance to address their behaviour rather than just deleting them forever. Permanent suspensions should only be issued in examples of dangerous criminality or when an account is obviously fake, and this must be reviewed by a team. There must be a proper appeals process, and this must be dealt with in a proper timescale. Because I know, for example, with Twitter, I've seen people be kicked off Twitter for 6 months and then get an email to say, terribly sorry, this was an error, we're reinstating your account now. That person had to wait 6 months. How is that right? And finally, even in the case of permanent deletion, I believe that people must be allowed to open up a new account unless it's a really extreme circumstance at some point in the future. So let's say it's 12 months, although it could be longer. Obviously, that wouldn't apply to, the case of like where they're promoting genocide or something. But in most cases, if it's just somebody's been an idiot and they've been permanently kicked off, give them a chance to start again, at some point once they've served their sentence. Now, if you introduced all of these rules, tech giants would be much less inclined to issue permanent deletions because they'd have to dedicate more resources and they'd risk legal consequences if they got it wrong. We need a proper level of policing by properly trained individuals who issue fair punishments that focus on ending abusive behaviour without the need for permanent deletion. We should not be taking anybody's voice away permanently, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, I think that's. I think you're essentially completely right. As long as you're not using your platform consistently to continually spread either hatred or misinformation, and like you say, after repeated warnings, after trying to be instructed not to do things that are essentially harmful. Really, if you have got a social media platform, fundamentally you need to respect the right to free speech. You need to have that. I just don't want us to take the problem with a lot of these social media companies is they are based in the US, and if you take the US approach to free speech, which essentially allows full-on bigotry and hate speech to be said without consequence, essentially. So if you look at the most extreme examples in the US, where you can have groups of people marching down the streets holding assault rifles and carrying swastika flags and chanting white supremacist slogans, that's protected under the First Amendment of the United States ridiculously. So if you take that level of approach to social media accounts, I personally would have a bit of a problem that. I think that you need to have a social media platform where you can't have people explicitly stating bigotry or hatred, because essentially, if you allow platforms where that's allowed, you're essentially creating policies that indirectly kick marginalized people off those platforms. Because you can have a platform where somebody can come on and tell you every single day that, you know, you're disgusting and you're scum and you're scum of the earth and you shouldn't exist and you're an abomination and blah blah blah, which is what people like that do, then marginalized people who have got absolutely no comeback on those platforms through a legitimate means have a choice of either like trying to fight back and fight against this tide of hatred, or just leaving to protect their own psyche, essentially. So you do need some level of protection from like extreme hate, bigotry. But beyond that, you can't have international social media platforms that are supposed to house everybody that just allow one particular viewpoint. You can't have people being kicked off because they're right wing or reactionary. You can't have people essentially like people I really disagree with most of the time. People like Lawrence Fox and Paul Joseph Watson, who have really large Twitter followings. I don't think these people should be removed from those platforms, but they absolutely shouldn't be protected from criticism either. And one of the things that you hear consistently is when these people speak up and say something stupid, ridiculous, racist, dog whistly, and they get absolutely piled on rightly. They say, "Oh, I'm being silenced," or my speech is being restricted. But in reality, if you have proper free speech, if you say something stupid and bigoted, you should expect to get a torrent of responses.
At the end of the day, what free speech is about not having the government coming down and then, laws being enacted against what you can and can't say, which we don't actually have. Like, that's not a thing that from a kind of fixed and absolute point ever exists anywhere. Like, for example, the old tired example of you can't say fire in a crowded theatre or whatever. This is obviously, there's obviously essentially a constant tug of war between what we think is acceptable and what we think isn't acceptable, and that discourse, the way that line exists, that's going to continue shifting based upon public perception. And at the end of the day, you make a really good point that large amounts of endless free speech for some people will negatively affect the free speech of others in turn, because it has this silencing effect on people who wouldn't have, the ability with which to speak freely in the first place anyway, because of the amount to which they are disincentivized from engaging with these platforms, because it becomes very difficult. There's an excellent ContraPoints video about that, which unfortunately got deleted, not by YouTube in this case, but by the author, about the way in which online spaces again are the way in which free speech is weaponized in online places. They serve only dominant powers and dominant hierarchies within society, and we see that at the moment with regards to pro-capitalist perspectives. They are the way in which free speech is used online is weaponized online will always benefit the people at the top of the power hierarchy, and in this case, that's how capitalism works.
Yeah, first of all, I mean, you mentioned ContraPoints there. Yeah, she does make some great videos. I've never seen the one you mentioned. And what I was going to say was basically the way that it is weaponized, this idea of free speech, it is utterly ridiculous. Because, if we go back to what we were talking about last week, freedom of reply is a really important thing, and we get accused of pylons, we get accused of bullying. That was why they're wanting to take away online anonymity, was because somebody says something that's bullshit or racist or something, and they're allowed to do that. That's fine, because that's their free speech. But we're the ones who we need our free speech taken away, or we need to be policed in some way because we're calling them out. I mean, it's complete and utter bollocks. Free speech does have to work both ways. But, what I wanted to say was, social media, it's essentially, it's our window to the world. It's our best way of connecting with people, and it's fundamental to our lives as roads or pavements, and it's been monopolized. A single push of a button by a rogue employee can remove us from our platform. That's just a huge concern to me. So, somebody at YouTube on a whim, they can just they can just take us away because they don't like what we have to say. And that's, as we've touched upon, that's basically what's been happening. Now, imagine somebody could push a button and they could end the Daily Mail newspaper or the Guardian. They could just take it away and it was gone forever, because it's the same kind of thing. That's the power that we're talking about, that these social media giants have. And, although they might call it an error, clearly what's going on here is very politicized. There's just tons of error, not necessarily in this particular case, but there's tons of evidence that what's going on is very, very political, and people are doing what they can to try and censor people. Now, as just a single human being sitting in an office can hugely impact your freedom of speech, and people have all kinds of biases, all kinds of flaws. They're prone to error, they're prone to corruption, they're prone to bribery, they're prone to a desire to censor voices they disagree with. So you could imagine, for example, an angry conservative sitting in an office in the US wearing a MAGA hat saying, I am going to take those lefty bastards down, and then hitting a button and your channel's gone forever. So while in this case the channel Novara was restored, how many other times has it been done? Do we get smaller channels? They get their deletions wrongfully their wrongful deletions overturned? It's impossible for us to know. Just imagine, for example, there was a channel with 100 subscribers. It was about to become the next Novara Media, but now it's gone. The owner can't even start again. So clearly we have a huge problem. Personally, I don't think anybody should be able to deplatform you at the single push of a button. If we're talking about permanent deletion, it must be a robust procedure that's followed. In such action, as we've mentioned, it should only be taken as a last resort. I think Portby mentioned earlier as well, there needs to be international agreement on these procedures across all social media platforms. And, that should be written in the international law. So it should just be like a case of, if you do X, this is what your punishment is. If you do Y, this is what your punishment is. And that should always be consistent. It shouldn't be one thing, is fine on Twitter, but on YouTube it will get you a ban, or vice versa. I mean, that just wouldn't make sense. Because at the end of the day, you're talking about deplatforming somebody, you're talking about taking away their voice. We live in a time now where social media, it's basically like the invention of the telephone or the invention of the television or something like that. It's just this huge part of our lives now. So it's not just enough to say, YouTube or Twitter, they're a private platform and they can do what they want. It has to be fair, because the impact on society is so great. Now, I feel that if a company doesn't follow the correct process when it's deplatforming you, you should absolutely be able to challenge that decision in court. So let's say, for example, Novara hadn't been reinstated, or let's just say that YouTube hadn't bothered getting around to reviewing the decision yet, and they were going to make them wait 6 months, like Twitter has been in some cases. Somebody should be able to go to court and get that sorted out. It shouldn't just be a case of, how much money could Novara have lost in that case? They could have been driven out of business. There must be some kind of thing that you can do if you've been treated unfairly to get yourself reinstated.
Agreed. 100%.
Totally agree. I really would love to see like an ISO for social media. I think it is definitely needed. We think about these things in like industries where people can get hurt and where they're producing profit, but in social media, people can get hurt and people produce profit. So I don't see how it's any different. I think it realistically is a fundamental health and safety issue, because it can affect people's businesses, it can affect people's mental health and well-being. It should be taken seriously, and the level of responsibility that is required should be placed on them, because at the moment, most of these companies are completely getting away with it. And
Sorry, I thought you were finished with your point, but anyway, I was going to say, well, again, like I made the point before the stream died at the start, that we're essentially, there's this big chain of companies that we're all at the behest of for loads of different things. I made the example that when OnlyFans had told creators they couldn't make a certain kind of content, they were told they couldn't do that anymore because, they changed their terms of service, which, again, as I mentioned before, it was a source of people's income. This was a labour issue. This was people not being able to use that platform that they had signed up to originally as an independent contractor of that company to be able to use to essentially have themselves a living, right? That was their way of being able to work, right? And then they said you can't make this type of content, and the reason came out was because the payment processors of these particular websites had made that stipulation to OnlyFans in the first place, right? So it was this chain of payment processor to OnlyFans to content creator, essentially having this incredibly large decision over someone's livelihood at the end of the day. And and I mentioned before, that chain happens all the way through the way in which working class people live in society, because we need to have a job to be able to live, and a lot of the time our jobs are completely under control of large, corporate entities who don't have our best interests at heart. Well, again, obviously, as the bourgeoisie and proletariat dichotomy would show, we have completely opposing material interests. So we are in a constant class struggle against these people, and I see the parallels between the power in which these people have to be able to remove people's livelihoods from online platforms, very, very similar to the way in which people can remove our livelihoods in the working world as well.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, what you touched up on there is really interesting, because with terms of like the payment providers, I know, for example, and I was really surprised when I was looking at this, but PayPal, because obviously I've got a PayPal account, when you go through their terms and conditions, they kind of tell you how you are and aren't allowed to make money. I mean, that's just absolutely ridiculous. How can a company tell you that, or you're not allowed to use our services if you make money this way or make money that way? It's like, okay, if you're not doing anything illegal, then why should they be allowed to dictate that to you? It's just another example of our basic freedoms are being kind of taken away by the dictates of these companies rather than by legislation, which, companies should not have that level of power over our lives. That should only be something that is done, in Parliament, kind of set as a law, rather than, some CEOs just thought, the way you're doing things is not very good for my business. It's like, I don't care. That's that's nothing to do with me.
It should be subject to democratic mandate.
Yeah, that would be a better way of wording it. What I was wanting to kind of final point I was wanting to basically make, because it was basically relating to a friend of mine, and how he got taken down, and just the effects that this has had on him. I mean, if we think about it like the social media, it's the most powerful weapon the working class have gained since the emergence of trade unions. I think it's been a game changer, because an ordinary person with 100 followers can reach 1 million people with a single viral post. So it's basically a megaphone, and powerful people would love nothing more to take that away from anybody who dissents. At present, that's far too easy to happen, as obviously we've been discussing quite a lot. And I know, for example, one person who was deplatformed recently. He was a guy who was making parody videos. Now, obviously, they were parody videos dissenting against the actions of the state. He was taken down because he'd received a complaint that some of his parody videos contain music tracks. This is a legal grey area, because as far as I understand it, copyright laws don't always apply to parody, but there'd been a complaint from a lawyer. But permanently deleted his account because of this, because apparently they've got a 6 strikes in your outlaw rule, and he got all of those 6 strikes in one go. They said they would only reinstate the account if the complainant, a lawyer for Sony, dropped the complaint. This person was advised to seek legal advice, but obviously they didn't have the funds, so they lost all 7,000 followers and their voice. Surely that's wrong. It had not even been established whether this person had actually broken a copyright law. So that's a really important thing to consider. Just because somebody accuses you of breaking copyright law or thinks that you've stolen their content, it doesn't necessarily mean you have, because of how copyright laws work. You can make a legal defense in court, and sometimes the judge might side with you if they think that what you've done has come under fair use. I'm not saying that has happened in this case, but it might have done. So the person had been accused, and that was enough to have them taken down. How can you be deplatformed for an unproven accusation, even if it's come from a lawyer? And even if the person did break the law, why does that warrant a permanent deplatforming? You wouldn't imprison a person for life for copyright infringement, so why would you deplatform them for life? Surely that goes against the principle of natural justice. Surely due process matters, and if guilt is proven, then the punishment must fit the crime. I think people really need to understand that blocking a person's access to social media for life in most cases is wrong. Imagine being told you were never allowed to use a telephone again, because it's pretty much the same thing.
100%. You're absolutely right. Like, the DMCA, the way the DMCA take down stuff on YouTube works is fucked. It's so bad. Like, so for example, there's a really good Lindsay Ellis video about it, and amusingly in the context of wolf porn, but I digress. Essentially, where the way that DMCA takedowns work is that you can just make a DMCA takedown notice, and YouTube will just take it down because they are something about the way the liability works for copyrighted content online. The publishers have been put into the position where as long as they comply with DMCA takedown notices, they're under no obligation to be under any duress with regards to copyright content on the internet, because it's so easy to be able to upload copyrighted content to YouTube and have it stay there. So if people DMCA takedown notice you, YouTube will just go, well, if we keep it up, we might go to court, but if we take it down, everything's between the people who have the content taken down and the people making the DMCA takedown notice. So they just take it down and then they just completely wash their hands of it because they don't really need to care. So it's called something like Addison Kane's lawyer sued me or whatever. It's by Lindsay Ellis. Video's really good. Highly recommend watching it. Really good video about DMCA takedowns.
Yeah, I know that on Twitch now, I'm pretty sure I might be saying this, they will automatically mute if they hear a music track now. So I've got no problem with that kind of thing happening. I don't even necessarily have a problem with them taking a video down because of DMCA notice. What I have a problem with is when they're taking a channel down because of this. It's one thing to just take down a video. You can live with losing a video, even though it might be annoying, frustrating, it might cost you a bit of revenue. But to permanently delete somebody else's channel and tell them they can never have another channel again because they've had accusations made against them that could be false, that that person might win in court, but they don't have the means to dispute that in court, that's surely got to be wrong. And that's just it's just another element of this that needs to be looked at.
Yeah, 100%.
I think any company like this where they're basically offering this kind of public facing service where people from the public are encouraged to come along and use their platform and talk. The fact that you're offering it public facing in the first place, I think, means that you need to have a certain level of standard and treat people with a certain level of respect and fairness that they're just not. They kind of, we've said it a few times tonight, they kind of give the illusion of doing, and they kind of go through the motions of looking like they're trying to enforce some level of like fairness and consistency, but they're nowhere near it. And if they were being held to account by any sort of like independent body, I'm sure all of the main social media accounts will be found to be failing in a lot of aspects. If they were scrutinized the way, say, the school system is, or the care system is, or the health system is, where you've got somebody like Offset or CQC who are going to come in and check that you're doing the things that you say you're doing, and that you're basically enforcing the standards that you've set yourself, which is how these things tend to work. So you have legislative standards, but primarily, if you set standards yourself, you set your own policy, they'll come in and check that you're following these. Now, if you read the some of the terms and conditions of these companies, if anybody came and properly policed them against the things they say they're doing, they say they're enforcing, I would put a week's wages on them not meeting the standards that they've set for themselves. Just through the sheer amount of anecdotes there are out there of them failing their own standards. And I don't think many people would dispute that, in all honesty.
I'm not even sure they would dispute that themselves, Popey. One of my biggest issues isn't even necessarily the rules that they have, because although then they are pretty opaque on the rules, I think in general, a lot of the rules that they have are probably fair enough, and a lot of the time it's actually the inconsistency in how they're applied, and the way that we'll see one account and it'll just be repeatedly outrageously racist and that gets away with it, and then another one doesn't. And there's clearly a staffing issue there because they're dealing with so many accounts. I don't even know what the solution to that is. I'm not going to defend these companies too much because they are hugely profitable companies. They are dealing with a ridiculous amount of money. I think they are going to have to accept that maybe they have to double, triple their workforce or anything, make sure their staff are properly trained. But this is just another example of why they shouldn't necessarily be throwing around permanent deletions. If you're going to be getting decisions wrong, don't give your frontline staff the power to issue permanent deletions, even if somebody really fucks up. If a member of staff is just constantly issuing, suspensions of say 3 months, to you every time you mess up. You're bloody well going to learn your lesson at some point. Nobody wants to be kicked off social media for 3 months at a time. People would start learning, so you don't necessarily need to be like, aha, you're banned forever. Let's just say, for example, I posted something really ignorant tomorrow online. I got kicked off Twitter for 3 months. I came back 1 day later, I did it again. I got kicked off another 3 months. That'd be 6 months I was down. You know, you can bet your right arm I'm not going to be stupid enough to do it a third time, because you are going to learn at some point. But it's just the slowness and the inconsistency. And then the other thing is, like I mentioned before, just the lack of ability to appeal these things. I've heard so many people have to wait 6 months when they've done nothing wrong. I mean, all of this is just bollocks. It's like, just let us know exactly where we stand. You know, how are we supposed to find out what these rules are and what these punishments are? Do even the staff know? Are they just winging it? We don't know any of this. So yeah.
I suppose just on that, I've seen a couple of articles out there of like kind of people's perspectives when they've worked for Facebook, basically as their moderating staff. There's a couple of like exposés, like here's my experience articles, and like just the level of stress and mental health issues that these people get thrust on them without being properly looked after. Like there's this whole other side to this kind of moderation debate that is completely ignored, and it's the people on the other side of it. And the amount of extremist content that these people are being subject to on a very, very regular basis for a very low wage, and they're not getting the level of kind of mental health support that they should foresee in all this. And the one particular story I read was about how people were becoming radicalized by the content that we're seeing. They were becoming conspiracy theorists, or they were shifting to the far right. And this kind of whole other side that is essentially left out of this conversation because it's not what affects us as the users. But I would really encourage anybody listening who's thinking about the things we're talking about to go out and look for some of those articles, because they're quite eye-opening and definitely worth a read.
Yeah, it sounds like they are. I mean, there's so many kind of different things we could even go into here. I think I've kind of covered. Oh, 2 seconds. I've just dropped my microphone there. It's on the edge of my desk. It's fine now. Yeah, I think I've pretty much covered everything I kind of wanted to cover tonight. It's a bit of a shame that it's ended up so messy in terms of our technical side of things, because it started off so well. Hopefully, Justice can kind of stitch everything together and make it look seamless, and then we'll just pretend everything went magnificently. I don't know if anybody else has got anything to add tonight.
No, I think we covered everything I wanted to get through as well today.
Yeah, you know what? I'm really sad, because I just thought we were kind of, in terms of the points that we were making, we were really nailing it, and then all of the tech issues kind of totally threw me off. I just suddenly ended up all over the place, and my head was all over the place. But it's a shame, because it was going really nicely. But if we can kind of get this stitched together afterwards, I'll still really push the footage out on YouTube. I'll just apologize. On social media, I'll apologize to anybody who was watching, because obviously I think someone my channel just saw half a show, basically. Hopefully next time we'll figure this out, and we'll just make sure this doesn't happen again, because it was a disappointment. It's a shame.
I mean, we got content out of it at the very least, and again, it was only the third one we've done. Like, there's always going to be teething issues, so we'll get there eventually, right?
I would really like to make this a regular thing, because, from a personal perspective, I was feeling a lot more comfortable and a lot more confident with what we were doing, because I feel like now I'm kind of in the swing of things, whereas the first 2 weeks I didn't have a clue what I was doing. It's just unfortunate that the technical side of things fucked us up. But like I say, we'll figure it out. If it means that I've got to get better software or even better hardware, it's just something that I'll have to look at. But I think we'll get there.
Absolutely, 100%. Yeah, I think moving over to Discord might help things a lot as well. Zoom, for some reason, it's really power intensive on the CPU, and so it fries things a lot.
It's so temperamental; it just crashes for no reason. And my computer's not that bad. It is a few years old, but it runs most things fine. But I might just end up having to get a new one. But yeah, I think Zoom is one of the problems, so we'll just have to move away from Zoom. But looking at Discord now, it does look better. I think it will be.
It's crisper.
Yeah, it is. It's a better image quality. So yeah, I think we'll do that next time. Fingers crossed. I just really hope we can kind of next time just really nail the stream because I was really optimistic about this one. And
I mean, the
what
content was good. Like, we got all through some really good points there, and I think the actual conversations we had were fantastic. I will look back through the footage. I'll pull something together and see what we've got.
yeah. I was just a bit disappointed because I think some of the best points I made were when I was really distracted because it happened after all the tech diffs. I felt like I was nice and smooth at the start, and then by the end I was just like, where am I? But yeah, we will have something definitely salvageable. But I do appreciate you two coming along again. So thank you
As
very
always,
much.
absolutely. Again, always appreciate the invites. I guess and it's not really an invite anymore; it's just a regular thing. But yeah, I've got it nailed into my calendar every Sunday now. So happy to continue doing it. Very excited to do so.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we'll continue doing it. We'll make it into a proper thing at some point. I promise it will be a proper thing that will kind of take off and get some traction. It's just you're not going to do that while everything's falling apart while you're live. But yeah, we will get there in the end.
No problems. No problems.
All right.
Right, catch you later, folks.
Thank you guys.
Right.
Bye bye.
Well, that was fun. Let's load up some Pathologic. Need to change the stream. I'm looking for GOG. Edit stream details. Turn on the camera. Properties. Change source to. And we're good. Let me change which way around my camera's going. Much better. That's exactly what I wanted. Let us continue with some Pathologic 2. And what I've been doing for this time, when I've been playing, I've been doing a run where the only trading that you do was with Bad Grief and the Dead Item Shop. It was way easier than I expected it to be. So I kind of want to do a run with no trading at all. We'll see how it goes. But it's Halloween, so I thought I'd do something spoopy. I was wondering where the noise was, and then I realised I turned the music off for Pathologic too, so I'll probably turn the music back on now. I'm actually streaming it. Okay, loading. There we go. doing? Let's eat some food. Move this camera ever so slightly. There we go. I need to repair this rifle.
Yes.
Why are they throwing you out? Hand me that popgun of yours. There we go. That's what I wanted. Get yet another pistol. Sweet. We have loads and loads of weaponry. Sort this inventory a little bit. Let's have a look what's going on out here. Oh yeah, there should be a Schmauder, or just a good there. So I need to give Schmauders to Murky, Khan, and Grace. I think Grace is the closest, so we'll go to Grace and then take the boat over to Khan and Murky. Smashing Molotov cocktails, my favourite noise. Huh, that's strange. Usually the plague cloud gets us off the second floor. There's lots of soldiers around. If you're tempted to get into a firefight for the lols. Please leave me alone, Plague Cloud. Love how British these people are. Let's go give Saburov some... Oh, there's no point in immunising people today. Just no point. Do you have any spare drugs on me? No. Well, I can't get the boat though because this region's infected, which is kind of tilting, but hey ho. Yes, I can save at Peter Thompson's loft. Here you go. Have poison in this box. Yay! The closest boat is in the gut, maybe? Guess. I'll be quick to walk. Andre Thompson's infected. Evian. Do I care about either of them? I've got enough Schmauders for one of them. Let's have a look, see what we can do. That's too far away. Can't be asked going all the way over there. Stop lying around. Thanks, Plague. Appreciated. Brilliant. Got myself infected now like a bloody idiot. Well, shouldn't really matter this late into the game. Yeah, we're on day 10.
Fouless. Fouless.
Oh, don't burn me. I mean, maybe burn me a little bit.
Better to listen than to fight. Abiding and watchful is wisdom. Let the outlandish life dwell within you, and you will unearth answers. Is this not the task of a healer?
Why did I burn the panacea so early? I could have used that myself. Oh well. Again, not that makes much difference. We're all pretty done state. Why is my infection my immunity going so quickly? I'm wearing the boots. Should have been more careful with my army boots. I'm thirsty, that's fine. That sounds like fun. No, maybe I'm supposed to go to Murky first. Probably makes more sense. That's it. I've gone Grace. I've done. No, just Con and Murky, and then get to choose one of Eviana or Andishdamerton to save, unless I want to save the Shmurda for myself. My health is so full though. Enjoy tasty Shmurda. Yeah, I've got enough 4 shots there. There you are, Khan. Enjoy death in the form of saving you from the plague. Quick space wave beyond. tutorial I need to do. Already opened that one. I'm still hated there. Not respected here. After all the after all those people I killed. Go cure Eva. Enjoy. Might as well save on a man. Ba-ba. Do I have any food on me? I just forget to bring any. Well, I'm an idiot. Right. Well, I've just saved, so I can go fucking loot somewhere, can I? Please have some sort of food on you, friend. Thanks. For nothing. There's a dead body over here. Is this a... Oh, you have food, excellent. That helps. I've run out of space for Twirene. Is this one of those I want? Not really. That's fine. Take some blood. Just got very little else to do today. I can hear you, but I can't see you. Whatever. Don't need to care. You're nothing to say. Reef isn't here either, so this map mark is just never gonna go. No, no, it isn't, because he died whilst there was a map marker there. Oh well. Well, I guess we're gonna go around and shank a few people around here. Loot a few houses. Best off doing it during the daytime. It's one of the big ones. No, it's not. Where are the bad guys? There we go. Get fucked. And now we killed people upstairs. No. Friendly guard. For now.
Hey.
Don't you fucking dare. I wanted that. Don't really need you. These stack. Don't know what I've been doing that for. And I can have both. Excellent. Right, we can do one more of these. Where's my bottle of blood? How many bottles have I got? 5 in that stack. Can I get the one stack, have I? Okay. Maybe I won't. I've got 3 in that stack. There we go.
Come here. Calm down.
I can't believe I shot you at point blank range with a rifle and you didn't die. There we go. Sure, I'll loot you as well. Fuck it. Oh no, a tiny amount of reputation loss. What, let's make the most of all this shit. The scrap metal that I came here for. Literally the most important item in this game as far as I'm concerned. Gotta keep my guns repaired. Have I gone in here? Apparently not. Well, that could have gone badly. Oh well. These better gloves? They are. Springs are things I need. Those are crappy gloves. Same thing here to loot. Let's get back to...
Stands only as a
Jeez.
struggle.
That surprised me.
I am not death. I am life.
I have never found a sewing kit in these houses, which I find extremely tilting. Ugh, I think I might have got that down too far like an idiot. Oh well, we'll shoot it. We'll do some more shots for loads of ammo. Doesn't really matter. Do some long range shots. I think I should have enough. I think I've got enough scrap metal back at the lair to be able to repair it again. So, take a little swig. Ah, finally got the... Apparently I can't climb the stairs.
If only I could live a year longer. A whole endless year.
Lab duty. Got the children, got the tower. Father duty is my duty. No, I do not want to flee the town. So be it. Well, can we go up this set of stairs? Yeah, well. Don't know what's going on there. I would like to save the game. Thank you very much. No, I think we're good at the moment. I have nothing else left to do. Might be good. Maybe we'll go to that cache. Might also take a nap, to be honest. Just get ready for tomorrow. Should have enough things and stuff. Pop these spare guns over there. Get ready for the last dead item shop, which is here. Yeah, let's just fuck off back home. Have a good naparoonie before day 12. Day 11 even rather. Oh, hello. Hello.
Hold it.
Thanks for your stuff. It's appreciated. You chose the wrong place to just randomly hide. Or have I screwed up the rifle like an idiot? Yes, I have. Excellent. And I do not have enough spare scrap metal to fix it. Like an idiot. Oh well. At least got a barley on the last day. Try and replenish some stock. I'll take that. These be salted barley. Stuff the item shop there too. Just get rid of this spare gun that I don't need.
This is man's wrong. Men fear aching and ill wish sickness. They break from each other, lock themselves in bedrooms and cleavings, for they are weak and fearful.
You don't look so happy. Must have come from the hospital.
Thanks, Dick. You know, it just came from the Bridge Square, actually, but I appreciate your concern. Where am I doing? I'm just going to go to sleep. And take an antibiotic. Wow, that cut up a lot of my health. That's incredibly unfair. Yeah, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It's the last day. There we go. We only lost Notkin. Oh well.
Time flies faster and faster.
Save that.
With each passing day. The day is over and night falls.
Have some tasty noms.
If not, something will be irretrievably lost.
How can people protect themselves?
Any
from
more
the
dead items I can
infection?
flog on
You're
the
a
last day?
doctor. You should know.
Nope, I think we're all good. So, plans to go to Barley, go to the item shop. What time is it? 3 in the morning. Ensuring that the hindquarter stays infected from day 10 over to day 11. It doesn't actually replenish your stock levels. Fuck it, have the money. Just literally end up with all of the guns at the end of the game. I'm just gonna not have enough space to fit all of the guns that I've just bought. Aha! There we go. Just gonna buy loads of weaponry for no reason. Shame it doesn't replenish his inventory. Did they leave all the stuff I left here? They did! Well, how wonderful. Now let's sell it all over again. I'm gonna drop off all of this spare weaponry just so I can get a picture at the end of the game. It's like, this is how many guns I finished at the end of the run. my good revolver. Keep that. There's a crappy one. A shotgun. I want to. Do I want to repair? I'm not gonna. I want to get ammunition. We'll go to the dead item shop. We'll find what the dead item shop even has first, and if they have all the stuff that I want, then I'll do it. Eat you. Pop your inventory for later.
The price of salt is going up. People are hoarding it. It's like we're out.
Quite thirsty. Have the light up, you bastard. Whatever. Don't need these items anymore. Might as well take them. Unless, fuck it, don't need that. That's how many guns I can fit in my singular inventory. So that's how we do. Actually, it's not even the shotguns I want to take with me, is it? It's actually the revolvers.
All you need to learn is the right herbal mixtures. That's what the old man used to say. Herbal mixtures.
It's a shame I can't fit a gun in any of these side pockets. Or two in this middle pocket, but hey ho. I'll take a print skin of this anyway. It's cool.
I did not come here for you. I came for the town.
Just save that, in which case I probably will end the stream there. Thank you everyone for tuning in. Thank you for everyone with the chat room. Hopefully I'll catch you on the next one.